In 1990, on a delayed train outside Manchester, a young woman looked out the window and an idea arrived whole: a scrawny, dark-haired boy attending a school for wizards. Before writing a single chapter, J.K. Rowling spent 5 years defining the rules of her universe. She mapped out the absolute limitations of magic. During that same period, she experienced the profound grief of losing her mother, an emotional weight that bled directly into the DNA of the world she was creating. To understand the lore she built, we have to look back to long before the Hogwarts Express. Prior to 100 AD, witches and wizards lived openly alongside non-magical people. In civilizations like ancient Egypt and Greece, magical individuals were highly respected, often serving as political and religious leaders. That harmony eventually collapsed. By the Middle Ages, fear replaced reverence. Muggles began fiercely persecuting anyone suspected of wielding magic, forcing the wizarding community into the shadows. The transition from ancient cooperation to medieval hiding marked a shift in the basic relationship between wizards and Muggles. These early centuries demonstrate that secrecy was a response to external pressure rather than the original state of their world. To protect their youth from the mounting violence of the 10th century, 4 powerful magical figures retreated to the remote Scottish Highlands. Together, they built Hogwarts' School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, a fortress and a sanctuary. But the outside world's hostility quickly poisoned the sanctuary from within. Salazar Slytherin demanded that admission be restricted to those from entirely magical families. He argued that Muggle-born students, affectionately known then as magbobs, could not be trusted. The majority of wizards at the time viewed Slytherin's discrimination as misguided. His closest friend, Godric Gryffindor, fiercely opposed this demand. Their disagreement over blood status shattered their friendship completely. Slytherin ultimately abandoned the school. Before he left, he secretly constructed the Chamber of Secrets deep beneath the castle, sealing a monstrous basilisk inside with strict instructions for his true heir to one day purge the school of Muggleborns. The founding of Hogwarts created a safe haven, but it also incubated a deadly ideological virus. Slytherin's departure set the terms for a civil war that would dictate the next 1,000 years of magical history. The global breaking point arrived in 1692. Facing relentless Muggle persecution, the magical community made a traumatic choice to isolate themselves completely by signing the International Statute of Secrecy. Maintaining total global invisibility required an enormous administrative effort. In 1707, the British wizarding world dissolved their archaic Wizards' Council and formed the Ministry of Magic to rigorously enforce the cover-up. This diagram shows the ministry's massive subterranean structure. Level 2 housed Aurors, tracking wizards who violated laws. Right below, on Level 3, reversal squads and obliviators worked around the clock, erasing memories of Muggles who accidentally witnessed magic. Other divisions, like Magical Cooperation and the Office of Misinformation, existed solely to feed non-magical explanations to the Muggle Prime Minister and coordinate global cover-ups. This sprawling, exhaustive bureaucracy reveals a heavy cost. Remaining hidden required a continuous, grueling suppression of their true nature on an industrial scale. The Statute of Secrecy worked, but it had a disastrous side effect. Total isolation cut off the healthy intermarriage between magical and non-magical families that had been common for centuries. Left in the dark, a deep resentment and anti-Muggle extremism began to ferment. In the 1930s, this extremism found its textbook. An anonymous author published the Pure Blood Directory, listing the sacred 28 families deemed free of Muggle blood. Families like the Weasleys were crossed out and labeled as blood traitors. Blood status was now a political weapon. This toxic ideology fueled the rise of Grindelwald. From 1881 to 1945, he waged a global war aimed at tearing down the Statute of Secrecy and subjugating Muggles under wizarding rule. The ideological rot only deepened. Grindelwald's defeat paved the way for Lord Voldemort and the First Wizarding War. His brutal campaign of terror swept through Britain, ending in 1981 when his killing curse struck a 1-year-old boy, rebounding and destroying his physical form. The wizarding world drove themselves underground to protect their society from the violence of Muggles, In doing so, they incubated the very dark wizards who nearly destroyed them from within. When Voldemort returned in 1995, kicking off the Second Wizarding War, the government failed to respond. The Ministry's desperate denial of his return left the entire magical community exposed and vulnerable. By 1997, the Death Eaters successfully infiltrated and toppled the Ministry. Salazar Slytherin's thousand-year-old doctrine was no longer just a fringe belief. It was absolute, terrifying law. The May 1998 Battle of Hogwarts settled a 1,000-year ideological score. The spells traded in the courtyard were the final result of the schism that had broken the castle's founders a millennium earlier. The defenders held the line. With Voldemort defeated and Death Eaters purged, the secret world survived. In the decades that followed, the healthy intermarriage between magical and non-magical families began to climb back to its historic levels. J.K. Rowling's meticulous world-building transformed a train delay into a modern myth, grounding an epic in the real mechanics of systemic division and the enduring power of unity.